Morning and welcome to our Business Owners podcast with me and Gail, and we've got another really great guest on today. So today we're joined by Jonathan Smith from Talk Business. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Great, and thank you again for joining us. It's really great. So, Jonathan, as I always do, I'm going to get straight into the questions. So the first question to me is you're not native here in the UK, and you've got a really interesting story how you ended up in the UK, and I'm really interested at what happened on your sort of first day here. So maybe you want to answer that first of all.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, my parents are Brummies, but in the 50s, they were both professionals, and they had the option to go and live in the colonies. And so they took the option and went to Africa, and eventually went to what was Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, where I was born, but grew up in South Africa. But I was always a British citizen because of their nationalities. And when all the troubles were about some few decades ago, I was called up to the South African Army, declined the offer, and so they said, well, you better leave then. So just been married, given 30 days to leave the country. So came back to England with about £500 in my pocket, and then you're thinking, now what do I do? My work there was all around the textile industry. So I used to go to different countries like Swaziland and get nice wool and fibers and help local producers sort of produce these lovely woven fabrics. And what I did is we weren't allowed to bring much money out of South Africa, so I bought a stock of hand-woven mohair scarves and stoles. Came to the UK and thought, where am I going to sell these things? The only famous shop I know in the world is Harrods. So I got on a bus from Bournemouth, where I was living then, went to Harrods with my suitcase with about 50 scarves and stoles in it, put the case on the counter and said, how about these then? And the buyer picked out 15 or 20 and said, that's great, we'll have those. I said, well, can I have payment, please? And said, okay, well, you better wait. And so about an hour later, I walked out of Harrods with a check for 50 scarves, got on the bus and went back to Bournemouth. So I don't know if I'd ever do that again or have the cheek, but that's what you do when you're young and desperate and keen to just get going.
And Jonathan, that's a great story. I mean, the whole entrepreneurial piece there, and being a business owner and thinking on your feet and everything. I mean, that's a great story, and it doesn't matter if it's that story or others, but everybody has to start their business somewhere. And what I wanted to do really was fast forward to today, really, and understand, what is Talk Business? Tell us about what Talk Business is and what it does today.
Okay, well, Talk Business is the rebrand which we did over December and January for what was the Business Forum. So just over 10 years ago, I started what was then the Stratford Business Forum. We in Stratford upon Avon just launched a local business networking group, and it was all about connecting, and still today does. It's about connecting all sectors and all sizes. And it's about local supporting local, building a local community around business is what the sort of phraseology is. And then that grew and grew and was quite successful. Quite a few businesses joined from Warwick and Leamington and Kenilworth and said there wasn't anything quite like this over there. So we started a second business forum over there, which was the Leamington Business Forum. And then 3 years ago, launched one in Cheltenham. So we had a Cheltenham Business Forum. But it all became a bit sort of messy in a way. It's a bit like, you get a house and you add on buildings and you add on extensions, and in the end you go, let's just knock it down and build again. So we reviewed the whole lot and thought what we really want people to do is to have that opportunity to properly engage, and then develop the Talk Business UK brand. And as with everything, the first thing you do is check that all the URLs and all the hashtags and all those things are all available. And fortunately they are. So Talk Business UK is us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So that was sort of the big go ahead, really. And then the big launch product was really the Talk Business local groups. So this is where we go from our big breakfast events for sort of 70 to 100 people to a tighter network of people who meet more regularly. Everyone does a different job, but they're all part of the bigger picture.
Jonathan, that's great. Thank you for that. And I know Gail's got some questions as well. So Gail, over to you.
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for coming on the podcast today. One interesting story as well. And I admire that tenacity and not giving up. I myself am a bit cheeky sometimes. I think you have to be when you're an entrepreneur. So how did you set up? How did it come about, the talk business? Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, the original 10-year ago network started when I was in a different industry. I was in financial services, and I used to get all my business from getting clients to meet other clients. So I'd arrange small lunches and say, okay, I've got a client who runs this business, why don't you come and have lunch with us? And that's how I did it. So rather than knocking on doors and saying, do you want to buy from me? It's rather, let me see if I can help you meet someone else. And then my target base was always the SME, the business owner who tried to grow their business. And then I launched the first Stratford Business Show, which was literally just after the financial crash, 2008, 2009. And then from that, when another local sort of local authority-based business grouping failed, I was asked if I would try and keep people sort of connecting. And that's really where the first business forum came from. And actually on that, I mean, again, the cheeky side, it was January sort of 2010. I was at the Warwick Hilton Hotel, the snow was pelting down, due to meet someone, and there was Lord Digby Jones sitting in the dining room. His date had also not turned up for a business breakfast. So I went and spoke to him and said, I'm launching a business club in Stratford. Would you mind coming and helping me open it? And he was our launch guest speaker. So we had a good start.
Oh, fabulous. I'd like to lead on with the networking side there. I myself see the massive importance with networking, and that's how I've managed to grow my business. What is there any tips or hints that you can pass on to other business owners, in the importance of networking, Jonathan?
Yes, principally it's be there. If you're not visible, you're not there. You're invisible, and you've got to keep your almost your face in people's faces in the nicest possible way. The other way, which I've always found really works, is to be the giving person, to be the one who makes the introductions, and to be the one who, I mean, even now, every day I get an email saying, do I know someone who? And literally in the last 5 minutes, someone just said, do we have someone in the group who's a Shopify expert? And you're going, okay, yes, we have a couple of those. So it's to become the go-to, to be the one who makes the point that when you're talking to someone and you ask them, who are you hoping to meet? To then look around the room and see if you can take them to meet someone. And it is to just be really active and not to be the taker, and not to be the broadcaster, not to be the business card shover in the face. It's all of those things that we know we hate at networking events. And if you're the person arriving at an event and somebody not quite takes you under their arm, but sort of is nice to you and introduces you to a few others, where else are you going to go?
Yeah, totally agree. Thanks for that, Jonathan.
Jonathan, I mean, again, just it's fascinating listening to you, and again, the importance of networking is huge, and of course, the thing that's missing right now is that physical networking. So, you've had to adapt, and I know you've adapted really well. So, tell us a little bit how you've adapted and how people have adapted in COVID in terms of networking.
Yes, so it never really thought of doing anything online at all. I probably before March had been on about half a dozen Skype calls in my life. So what a change in life that is. But obviously when this happened, it was a quick scratching of the head and think, what do we do now? And it's two sides. One is, as a business, we have members who've paid a subscription to be part of our group. How do we keep that value? How do we still remain relevant? And then also just from a, making sure we're helping people to still help their businesses and keep connected. So tried various platforms, decided to, and then opted for the Zoom one. It's been the sort of the go-to place which everyone has settled into. But we were organising 1 or 2 face-to-face events a week. And then over the principal sort of 12, 14 weeks of lockdown, we were up to 7 or 8 events a week. And what I found then was also people became very generous as well. So we did a whole series on Monday motivation. And that's when I cheekily again went onto LinkedIn and just looked at all the people I'd never get to a business breakfast in Stratford or Cheltenham because they were somewhere else or too expensive. But we had some fantastic speakers come in at 9 o'clock just for 20 minutes, 30 minutes on a Monday morning and talk to the group. And we had really good engagements of 70, 80 people attending every Monday morning. And then on Wednesdays, 2 people in our network are very sort of in the well-being mental health space. So we created a well-being Wednesday session. And again, that was for that time every week, just for 45 minutes, people could come on what I used to call me time. And they had a really good series, good conversation. And have now, actually this Friday, they're launching that as a corporate offering to people to sort of run that out again. And then on Thursdays, we did a Thrive on Thursday, a bit of a learning opportunity. And again, bringing in all the talent from around the network to say, what can you teach for half an hour? And built that up as well. So it's just all of those things, just taking advantage of what we had and being that, that facilitator to help people keep engaging, keep meeting, and just be that constant contact point, which people really, really needed over that period. And the feedback from that has been immense. People saying this has really got them through. And even one the other day, I had an email of a student who was at Gloucester University, now doing work in Coventry, saying, I didn't even recognize her name. I thought just one of the people who came and plugged into things, saying how much she enjoyed those sessions and tapping into listening to these experts and these people helped them. And then the other thing we launched was the Talk Business Locals. So we went from the 1, which we'd started in January, face-to-face. We now have 5 groups from Coventry, Leamington, Stratford, Warwick, and Cheltenham. And those are really developing well. So it's a whole new online world. Who knows what it's going to be in the future?
Yeah, absolutely right about that, Jonathan. And Jonathan, just to end, I know you want to grow the network, and you've done fantastic well over those 10 years, and you've had a real challenge in the last few months. But you've once again you've shown your resilience and coming through that. But I know you want to grow this network across the UK and really push it forward. So how can people find out more about Talk Business, and how can they get involved or even set up groups as well? Where can they find out this information?
Simple enough. Talk Business UK. All channels. So it's all out there. And the whole thing is, the beauty of online is you can plug anywhere. You could be in Yorkshire and you could be in France. And you can attend events and meet people and get to know them.
And already, Jonathan, there's somebody calling you. They want to set up. Fantastic.
Love it.
And that's what we love. I mean, Jonathan, it's been fantastic for you to join us today. I really appreciate it. Some really great things there, and I know our listeners and viewers will really buy into this. And I really strongly encourage them to look up Talk Business and get involved. So thank you for joining us today. It's been fantastic.
Brilliant. Lovely to be here.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Thank you both as well. Bye-bye then.